Welcome to the if module, where we're going to be talking about this and how useful it is. But first, Benjamin over here that we normally use has got another 5 minutes of stuff to do. Is doing a little bit of landscape drawing along the McFrontier over there. So we're going to let those finish, and then we're going to talk about this here, which is often used in conjunction with a loop, which we saw in the last module. Like, let's do something a few hundred times, but maybe stuff will happen here. And often we do it the other way around. So maybe we'll do a loop where stuff happens, or we end up with, oh, let's do it like this. If stuff happens, else different stuff happens, and a loop there, and then we'll just throw a few more loops in because that's what happens. And then, oh, we've got some if statements down here. And then this is what our code will probably look like in the future. A whole bunch of if statements and loops and doing a whole bunch of stuff. So hi, welcome to the module. We're going to do if statements. I can't see you. Let's talk very quickly about the design we're going to do, and then we'll get on with code. All right then. Ooh, that's a bit wonky. Is that what they call Dutch angle? Anyway, it doesn't matter because we're going to the overhead camera. So what we have is previously we've gone lots of lines like this, and they've gone from 60 across here to 150 across here. For this whole video, we're going to think about this line as going from 60 to 150, and we're going to have the points 90 and 120 across too. Because this line can do a certain number of things. We can go from 60 to 120, we can go from 90 to 150, we could go from 90 to 120 for a short line. For even more fun, we could break the line up into two. And then we also have, I think, no line at all. And that's all the different types of lines that we could be doing. So we're going to be making up a pattern from last time where we had the loop, but we're going to be using the if statement to decide what to do with it. And it's a little bit like music where we're setting up a pattern or a rhythm, and we're going to have different types of rhythms going on. So that's where we're going to end up with. We're going to be generating a pattern, and it's going to go kind of in and out of phase with other things. So let's hop over onto the computer and do some actual code. Quick camera check. I'm talking to you here, but I'll mainly be talking to you here, and I'm looking at the code here, and we're going to just take the code we wrote right at the start of the loop video. If you haven't watched that, go watch that video first, and we're going to make a new file here. So new file, index 01, HTML. We're going to paste it in. We're going to switch to our downloads folder. We're going to drag this up to here. Going to save it. Switch back to our downloads folder. Drag our lines in to check it. There's a whole bunch of lines. So that's where we left it on the last video. So let's go back over to here. Now we're going to do something very simple. Let's get rid of that. We're going to add a new thing, which is a counter. Simple counter. We're going to go let counter equals 1. So counter does exactly what you think it is. We're going to count up. And then here, we're going to have an if statement. So we're going to go if counter is equal to 3. Let's do it like that. Then we're going to draw a body. Otherwise, let's draw exactly the same line here. But in this instance, we're now going to do what we did in the diagram, that if the counter is equal to 3, we're going to start at 90 instead of 60. So we're going to have one of those shorter lines. And now here we're increasing the y, so let's do it down here as well, or this management. We're going to go counter equals counter plus 1. We're going to add 1 to it. And another if statement. If counter is equal to 4, then we're going to reset it back down to 3. No, that doesn't make sense. Back down to 1, back to the start again. So we're going to start at 1, then we're going to add it to 2, 3, 4. If it's equal to 4, we're going to go back to 1 again on each time. So we should start having this shorter line every third one. Let's find out what happens. So if we reload this, we can see in our numbers here we've got 60, 60, 90, so it looks like it's doing what we're supposed to be doing. We're going to save that, go to our downloads folder and have a look. And there we go, that's our shorter line. Pretty simple. So let's just go through that again because I want to cover something. So instead of 3, let's say, okay, every 5th line. And in that case, we're going to start at 60, but we're going to end slightly earlier instead. We're going to only go to 120 across. And if the count is equal to 6, we're going to go back to 1. So a very similar thing, but we refresh this, save it, go to here, back to downloads. Okay, and we can see that every 5th line is now short on that side. Very simple. That's the if statement. If counter equals 2. You know, it's a little bit tricky that every time I'm sort of changing this back down to 3, I have to do this one that is 1 greater. And also when we're increasing the counter here, we might actually sometimes be adding 1 to it, sometimes adding 2. We might start varying this counter here. So there's no guarantee that we're going to hit 4 at all. If I added 2 to it, I'd start at 1, then 3, then 5. I'd skip 4 altogether. So a better thing to do is actually go, if we are greater than 3, so anytime, so I get up to 3 and then I add stuff to it, anytime I get anywhere over 3, then I'm going to reset it. And these are called, not operators, I think they might be called operators, but I'll just go talk about them a little bit. Let's talk about operators. Okay, here's an operator, which is if x is equal to 60. This is a little bit weird. Like, we might want to think of it as this. X equal to 60, that's how we normally do it. But in coding, this is setting x to be equal to the value of this. So if we went, if x equals 60, we're just saying make x 60. So they needed to come up with something going, what we really mean is checking to see if x is equal to 60. And there's these other ones as well. So we have not. If it's not equal to something, I'm happy if x is everything apart from 60. And then we've also got greater than 60. And over here we've got less than 60. We can do these things. So is x less than 60 or is it greater than 60? But there's 2 more that we may use, and they're very similar, which is greater than equal or less than equal. If we have a line here that goes from 60 to 150, and we kind of go, I want to know if a point is on this line, which includes 60 and 150, and I've gone start equals 60, end is equal to 150, so I can change all these things. So if I go, okay, if x is greater than the start, that's true for like 61, 62, all the way up here, but it doesn't include 60 itself. So I could go, is x greater than start less than 1, but it starts to get a bit weird. So the better solution is to go, is x greater than equal to the start, and is it less than equal to the end? So this is pretty much what you've got to play with if statements. You can go, if something is equal to something else, if it's not equal to something else, if it's less than the something else, if it's greater than the something else, less than equal, greater than equal. As always, there's other things, there's other ways of doing it, but these are the essential ones that we're probably going to be using for most of the things. Loops, ifs, all of these type of things. Now that I've explained that, next bit of code. Okay, let's put some of that into practice. We'll go back here. Let's get rid of that side window and make this just a little bit easier. I'm going to get rid of that. Okay, here is our body. We're going to do a couple of things. We're going to do let start equals 60, let end equals 150, and then swap these out so we can actually use start like that and end, which we learned about in the last lecture. Tutorial. There we go. So we're going to go from start to end. That's all fine. We're going to make 2 counters. Counter 1, counter 2. Okay, so we're setting both to 1 to start off with. And then we're going to go if counter 1 is equal to 3. Start equals, we're going to move the start across a little bit. Okay. If counter 2 is equal to 5, I don't need to do 3, that's habit. That's another one that I'm not talking about. Okay, end equals 120. We're going to bring the end equal in a little bit less. And then down here, we need to update this a little bit. Counter 1 equals counter 1 plus 1. Counter 2 equals counter 2 plus 1. And these are our little tests here. So we're going to go counter, I'm going to copy that. Okay, so a quick review. We've now got 2 counters. We've got counter 1 and counter 2. We're setting a start and end. We're adjusting the start and the end depending on what's going on. And then we're just sticking the line out here. I think that's all good. If we go back over to my design, refresh it, we can see we've got some 60s and some 90s and some 150s and 120s. Suggests to me that it's actually worked. Save it. Downloads folder. Line 3. Let's open up into here. Okay, so now we've got all our different lines. Every third one is starting shorter, every fifth one is ending sooner, and we're starting to get this kind of weird pattern here. And you know what? Just for fun, I'm gonna change this step here to be 1.7, then run this again. Save it. So now I've got 2 files that are going at slightly different distances. I'm going to plot them both now. Let's see what happens. Benjamin is now all set up. Now that he's finished plotting over there, we're going to be using this pink pen first, and then we're going to do it again with the cyan pen. Let's just set you away. Here we go. I'll pop you on there. There we go. And as you can see, because the gap between them is slightly different, it starts going in and out of phase with itself. So if you imagine adding more rules and having different things going on, how you start building up these different kinds of patterns, feels a little bit like weaving in a way. All right, let's try again with a few different rules. I want to introduce you to what I think is a really useful pattern. It's going to seem a little bit trivial for what we're doing here, but as we move forwards and we do more art, I think it's going to become a really useful pattern for you to learn. It's not something you'd really do as a coder. There's other, like, quote, better ways of doing things, but I think this is a kind of understandable thing to do. So, you know how we were here with our 60, 90, 120, 150, and there's these different types of lines? Well, we're going to play with that just a little bit. So, I'm not sure how this is going to turn out. Back here, I'm going to do this. Let have we done the thing yet equals false. So that's a thing that's going to check if we've done something yet. Starts off false, and when we've done a thing, we're going to set that to true. There's a reverse of this, which is let have we not done anything yet equals true. We haven't done anything yet. I mean, that is true. We haven't done anything yet. We're going to use that one. So I'm not sure how this is going to go, but we're going to go if counter 1 plus counter 2 equals 4 for no good reason. That's when we're going to do our broken line, the one at the start and the end. So let's take this, because we're going to draw 2 lines. And we're going to go, okay, that's going to go from 60 to 90, and then our 120 to 150, those 2 sidelines. And we're going to say, have we not done anything yet equals false. Okay, because we've now done a thing. If we were going the other way around, we could do, have we done the thing yet, and set that to true. Either works. But now that we've done that, we're going to go, if counter 1 equals 3, going to introduce you to this in a later lesson, and counter 2 equals 5, and have we not done anything yet equals true. So if counter 1 equals 3, counter 2 equals 5, and we haven't done anything yet, then we're going to do the short line in the middle. So let's grab this one here. Okay, cool. And we're going to go from 90 to 120. That's the little middle one. And we're now going to set this to be false. Now we're going to do our other stuff. So let's do the 5 one. And we're just going to do the little end thing. So that's going to be from 120 to 150. Little line at the end. And this one down here. Counter 1 on the 3. And this is going to be the small little one at the start. So we're going to go from 60 to 90 millimeters. Little starting dash. And then finally, to wrap it all up, we're going to go if. Have we not done anything yet? If we still haven't done anything all the way through there, then we will do the line all the way across. So we're going to go to 150. We can get rid of that. So just to recap, we're doing a thing here where we're saying we're just going to add these two together. So I guess 1 plus 3, 2 plus 2, 3 plus 1. So that might happen quite often. And then we're happy we've done that. But if we're doing this 3 and 5 together, we do something else. If we haven't already drawn a line, and over here, and again, this will get more complicated later, but it's an easier way of keeping track of things. So you might have in the future a thing where sometimes you'll draw a set of circles somewhere and you set a value saying, have I drawn a set of circles yet? It starts off no, and then when you do, you go yes. Later on, in a different loop, you might go, if I haven't drawn a set of circles yet, or if it's not true that I've done a set of circles, I might do it somewhere else, or I might do something different. So you can start kind of keeping track of different things that you've done, and then depending if you've done them or not, you can start to do other things. Again, this is quite simple, but we will get to that point at some place. So let's just run this. After going back to add all these curly brackets that I missed off. All right. Okay. Let's try it again. Okay, we're going to save that. Actually, let's not have that as 1.7. We're going to go to 2. And the reason for that is, I think it will be fun to use this parallel pen, which is a pen that has a wide nib on it. Not sure if you can see that. There we go. And that is a 3.8 millimeter nib, and we're drawing a line every 2 millimeters. I'm not quite sure what's going to happen, but we'll find out. Right, save that SVG, there we go, line 5. So down here, we can see that it now looks like that. We've got our little, I'm pointing at the screen, we've got these little dashes in the middle, we've got broken ones each side, we've got full width lines, we kind of got this pattern going on here. So let's draw it and then see what happens. Now I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, I don't think that's working particularly well as a plot. If we go again, but we make it 4 millimeters per step, then maybe that might look better. Let's try that. All right, I thought that maybe having the ink overlapping could be interesting, but I think this is actually working better. Let's compare these two here. I thought this might be interesting because as the ink went over itself, we'll get different shading, but possibly not. This to me looks more interesting. There's stuff going on there. It almost feels like those things where you used to look at words anyway. So that feels quite satisfying for a loop to draw all the lines, then if statements to work out what type of thing we should do, and then you can imagine making these shorter, having more rows of them, doing other stuff with it. So that is kind of an introduction to if statements. If one thing, do something. If something else, do that. And I think that'll probably... Ooh, why am I out of focus? And why is it all so dark? There we go. So that's my kind of introduction to if statements. I do want to show you one more if you're willing to stick around for a few more minutes. Otherwise, we can go on to the next video. Hopefully this has got a good start. The next video is about randomness, where we're going to go through that loop and then decide randomly whether to draw a line or not, so that each output that we do is going to be unique and different rather than the same pattern over and over again. That's kind of one more thing I want to show you. It's not that important, but it's got some thoughts about how we present work and how we video things being plotted. And it does involve an if statement. It's a little bit ridiculous too. Let me get you set back up over here. All right, so you're sticking around for the bonus, and this is a little bit of bullshit, but I roughly want to explain what I'm doing, which is we're now going to do another design where we're moving the margins in and out, so the length of the line is different. That's not the important part. When it was drawing, the pen was dropping down, going along the line, picking up, going back to the start, and then going back again. When you optimize it and use certain tools to save time, the plotter will go to one end and then back the other way and back the other way, but it picks an unusual path all the way through that. What we're going to do is do some code now to make the pen go back and forth, and I'll explain why while it's plotting. So back over to the screen here, we have our start and end. Let's get rid of that, and I'm going to go let indent equals 0, right? And we're going to start at 60 plus indent, which will just be 60, and we're going to finish at 150 minus indent, which again will be 150 because nothing's happening yet. But what I'm going to do here is go if, and every third one happens quite often. So I'll go if counter 1 is equal to 3, then we're going to set the indent equals 15. Now counter 2 equaling 5 happens slightly less often. If counter 2 equals 5, let's set the indent equals 30, and then when the counter equals 3 and counter 2 equals 5 both at the same time happens even less often, once every 15 lines as it happens. So if we go if counter 1 equals 3 and counter 2 equals 5, we're going to set the indent equals 45. And that's probably only going to happen 5 times we get down to there. This is the new thing I want to add up here. We go let drawing left to right equals true. And then down here, we're going to go if drawing left to right is true, then we're going to draw from left to right. Else, we're going to take the same thing, but we're going to swap these around. Okay, so if we're going from left to right, we're going to go from the small value one way, and then if we're not, we're going to go from the high value the other way. And we need to switch this drawing left to right around. So if it was true, we draw it, and now we set it to be false. And down here, if it was false, we're now going to set it to equal true, and that's going to get it to go back and forth. It won't look the same, but if we update this, we can see we're going from 60 to 150, and then the next line 150 to 60, 75 to 135, 150 to 60. So we're going back and forth. So let's save this, send it to the plotter, and plot it in 2 different ways. Alrighty, we're going to plot it our way to start off with. So because it's drawing back and forth, it's going to do the plot a lot quicker because we're saving on lots of travel time. I'm just going to let this complete and then I'll show you the other way we can do this. Okay, so that's the first one done. Now over here in the Bantam next door, and Vipe has similar type of options. In the optimization, we can go full allow path reversal, and that's going to try to optimize the path. And when we apply, so in that second plot, when it drew it, it started going one way and then it came back and then it kind of jumped back and forth and then filled in the last little ones. Why do I care? Why do I care about that? Why do I think you care about that? Well, most of the time, if you're in your studio and you're sending things to the plotter, you probably want it to happen faster so you can optimize, and it optimizes the plot. That's fine. But you're also an artist, and sometimes that involves presenting things, or you're in an exhibition or a gallery, or you're taking a time lapse or a video, and you kind of want to have more control over how the machine is drawing. In the first one, I knew it was just going to draw from left to right and go back and forth. So if I'm holding the camera, or I'm doing a time lapse, or I've got something on a runner, or there's some movement, I can predict where it's going to go and I can control that time lapse a little bit better. It's more pleasing to look at. Whereas if it's going to jump around and I don't know what it's going to do, it's a lot harder to know where to hold the camera, and the time lapse is going to look a little bit messier. Maybe you don't care about that. Maybe you ought not care about that. Sometimes it may not be important, but it's a thing that as you get more involved in the code, you have control over not only what it's drawing, but how it's going to be drawing it. And another thing is if you've got some rough paper and you're using like a 5-tip pen or a pencil that you know is going to wear down, you might want it so it starts off nice and sharp at the top and then wears down and gets softer as it gets to the bottom, so it's more obvious there's a gradient. Or you might want it to randomize and jump around so you can kind of hide and conceal the fact that it's getting softer within the design, so you can kind of play to the materials and have more control over it. So that's why I'm showing you that. It's not necessarily linked to if statements, but the power of if statements is, again, you can start to control the order in which you're doing things, like if this line is in the top half, then we do it first. If it's in the middle, we do it second. If it's in the bottom, we do it last. Into the future, we can start to use our knowledge of code to control even more things, which is great. All right, I'm going to leave it there. That's good for a bonus one. The last video went on extra long. This one's kind of longish. The next one, I think we're just going to blast through nice and quick because it's quite a simple concept. All right, I'll see you in the next video.